103.2 Preston FM.
Your community, your radio.
I think I can attribute this statement to my guest. I'm a big believer that the little moments are the important ones in life, and blogging is a space to capture them. And a statement there made by Sally Whittle, who is a professional blogger and journalist. So, Sally, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. It's lovely to chat to you.
And so nice to talk to you. And Sally, tell us, a professional journalist, but then into blogging. How did it all begin? How did the blog start?
Not even sure I call myself a journalist anymore. I worked as a journalist for about 10 years. And one of the things about journalism is that you always have an editor who tells you what to write, and you kind of secretly think that you're a bit better. So you'd have all these lovely ideas for things that you wanted to write about, and your editor isn't necessarily that interested in them. So having a blog was a really good way to write things that I wanted to write that maybe, the newspaper that I was working for didn't want to publish. So I started blogging about technology and journalism and social media and these sorts of things. And then after my daughter was born, I started to blog about the sorts of things that she was doing. And the things that we did together. And sort of over a period of a couple of years, it really became obvious that the blogging was actually turned into my job, and the journalism got smaller and smaller and smaller, until I realised I was probably more of a blogger than a journalist.
And a founder of TOTS 100, Foodies 100, the Mad Blog Awards, and editor of Who's the Mummy?
That's right.
So,
Who's the Mummy is my blog. And that's where I write about myself and my daughter. And the other sites are kind of community sites with lots of bloggers who join in.
So I take it that going from working, as you say, having an editor, how important then is, because you're blogging? I mean, it's far more instant in a way, isn't it? And how do you cope with the kind of, regulation and discipline of doing the blogs?
I think being a journalist is really good background. I always think that having a good understanding of how to write and how to use pictures and obviously things like libel law, obviously they're very important if you're publishing, and particularly when you're publishing on your own account, because you're liable for everything that you do. So I think some of those skills that I learned as a journalist are still really useful. But being a blogger is much more fun. I get to write about, whatever I want to write about. And if it's a bit stupid or it's a bit embarrassing or it's a bit silly, then there's nobody really to tell me that I can't do it. So it's much more liberating and much more fun in those sorts of ways.
And we could have some listeners who are not sure what we're even talking about when we're talking about blogging. Can you just explain to us from your perspective what a blogger is and does? Sure.
So essentially, when you look at a website that's updated regularly and is written by one person usually, or an identifiable group of people, and it's your personal take on whatever the situation may be. It might be current affairs, it might be films, it might be books, it might be parenting, it could be anything. But it's that kind of personal journal online, and you're having a conversation with your readers. People can comment on the posts that you write, on the articles that you write on your site, and you're just kind of having fun and talking to people and publishing on your own account. And that's a blog.
Yeah. So, how do you source content mainly for your blogs?
Do you know what? If you've got kids, it's dead easy, isn't it? Because they're always doing something stupid or ridiculous. Or as a parent, you're doing something stupid or ridiculous a bit more often in my case. We just write about the things that we do and the places that you go. And the nice thing is with blogging, these days, because more and more people read blogs, we often get invited to places, or we're invited to try things, or we're sent products to try out, and then we'll write about those things. So my daughter and I are very lucky. We get to travel quite a bit, or car companies might send us cars and ask us to try them out for a couple of weeks and tell people what we think about them. So there's a mixture. So I do some of that kind of stuff, and then a lot of what I do is really just about, my daughter's just got a part in the school play, and I might write about how funny it is, or just little things that we do, just those little, like you said at the beginning, it's about those little moments that I want to kind of capture and remember while she's growing up.
And it's also a lovely way, although you are sharing information and you're sharing your stories with lots of other people. In a way, it's also like keeping a very personal online diary, isn't it, in many respects?
Yeah, I kind of compare it sometimes when people ask me about why so many parents blog, because it's such a growing community. I kind of compare it a little bit to those photo albums that my mum used to keep. You know, she would meticulously keep albums and write little
Yes.
captions on all the photographs. And I think when you look at blogs now, it's very much a modern-day version of that, because you've got the photographs, but you've also got the stories, and there's lots of video, little moments of video and films on our blog. And there's also the conversation, so that one day my daughter will be able to look back and see all the things that we did when she was growing up, but also what I thought about it and what my friends thought about it and what our family thought about it. And I think it's just a really lovely keepsake in that regard.
And she will be able to see things like something that you blogged on the 1st of September, which is, I've got a sneaky confession. I'm not one of those parents that secretly breathes a sigh of relief when September comes round. So I love summer and you love the long days. So I take it the children are back at school?
Yes, my daughter went back about a week or so back, yeah. So she's in shell shock at the moment, I think, at having to get up again early in the morning and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's really nice that my daughter will be able to see that we had a lot of fun. And I'm hoping that she'll read it when she's a teenager and thinks that I'm horrible and never any fun. Maybe she'll be able to look back and think, yes, actually, my mum is quite cool.
So she's not started yet to do junior blogs?
Do you know what? She does have her own blog, actually.
Yes? Yeah.
She started blogging, about 18 months ago, so just as she turned 7. It's quite a nice way. I just thought it's quite a nice way for kids to learn about social media and the internet. And I think particularly in an age like this when there's so much concern about privacy and safety online, having worked as a blogger myself now for 5 years, I thought, actually, I can't think of a better way for her to learn about what you share versus what you don't share. And also that the internet is this really fun place where you can try new things and learn new things and develop skills. You know, it isn't all scary and bad, but she's learning about it sort of under my supervision a little bit. But she loves having a blog. She's been in the papers and things and sort of thinks she's a little bit famous. So she has a lot of fun with it.
And I would imagine then that you have built up quite a following, have you, to your blogs? Do you get quite a lot of feedback from people? Do you know how many people roughly probably look at your blogs?
I think probably in terms of my own personal blog, around about 50,000 people a month. And I know at least one of them is my mum, so I'm always a little bit careful. Yeah, it kind of grows over time, and it's interesting sometimes that you don't realise, and you might meet somebody and they know something about something that you did a year ago, and you kind of get pulled up, because it's easy to forget really that anybody's reading sometimes, and you just kind of get carried away with telling what you do, and you think you're talking just to your friends. And they do take on a life of their own. But it's very gratifying. You might get an email from somebody who says, actually, you know what, I'm going through that kind of thing with my child at the moment, and it was really useful to see not only what you said about it, but what all the people who commented on your post said about it. That's quite a nice feeling when that happens.
And what about future blogs and future idea for blogs? Are there many more in the pipeline? Are you constantly thinking, well, that's something new that I'm going to be looking at? Or do you also write reviews on other people's works, or is it purely blogs that you yourself are writing about you and your life?
Well, what I kind of did is I started my blog, which is Who's the Mummy, and I write there about my life and my family, and then that kind of inspired me to set up TOTS 100, which is, it's almost like a directory. So other parent bloggers were able to join in, and we can share posts, and we publish big lists of all the top parent blogs in the UK. And then following on from that, we did a similar community called Foodies 100, which is food bloggers. And then we did Hibs 100, which is people who blog about home and interiors. So we're constantly looking. That's now my full-time business, and we have a team of about a dozen people who work with us running those sites. So we're always looking at running new sites. And we've got some new ones in the pipeline that I can't really tell you about. But, it's constantly growing. It's a really interesting area, because for every new year that comes around, there's always something new in social media. It's always changing. There are always new people blogging, starting new blogs in new ways, and it's a lot of fun.
And also, we'll have to revisit you then to find out what the future holds for the things that you can't tell us on air at the moment then. So we'll come back to you on that one then, Sally. So what about the Mad Blog Awards? Tell us a little about those.
So the Mad Blog Awards, we set them up 5 years ago now, shortly after we set up TOTS 100, and the idea was that we wanted to kind of almost have an Oscars for parent bloggers, and just do something that was really fun and really glamorous. So every year we sort of kick off in January, and we invite people to nominate their favourite blogs across 15, 16 different categories. Because there are lots of different sorts of parenting blogs out there. Some of them are about food, some of them are about crafting, some of them are about technology, all sorts of different things. They nominate their favourites, and then people get to vote. And then we have a really fancy award ceremony every September in London. We have a red carpet and photographer and a lovely sit-down dinner. And yeah, I think this year we had a little bit over 250,000 nominations and votes. And on Friday evening, just gone, we had our award ceremony in London, hosted by, if you've got a 4-year-old, this is big news, but it was Dr. Ranj from CBeebies came and presented the awards, and our mum's got some fantastic trophies and prizes. And it's just a really lovely way to celebrate what some of the UK parent bloggers are up to.
Wow, that sounds brilliant. Did you think it would... I mean, the first blog that you wrote, and,
Mm-hmm.
did you think it would take off like this?
God, no. I think I'd worked as a journalist for a really long time, and I kind of thought that was it, and that was what I was going to do. I was going to write serious articles for broadsheet newspapers for another 30, 40 years. So, no, it's certainly in the early stages, it wasn't a big plan. I think I was lucky to meet some people who gave me really good advice and lots of really good support in the early days, and really encouraged me to just give it a try. And the nice thing about blogging is that there's a really low barrier to entry, really. You don't need to be a technical expert to get started. You don't need a lot of money to get started. You know, if you can kind of work something like a word processor and you know how to use an internet browser, then you can set up a blog and just see where you go with it. And I think the lovely thing about the internet is there's such a massive potential audience that if you can create something that captures people's imaginations, then it can grow beyond anything that you might expect.
And yes, I can understand that. And you also said that your mum follows your blog. So has she become your editor-in-chief these days then?
No, it just means that when I phone her to tell her something, she'll be like, oh, I already know that. And my dad loves to follow me on Instagram, so I can't tell him anything because oh yeah, I saw you on Instagram. So it just means I've got a lot less to tell them at Sunday lunches.
Oh, I love that. Sally, we can't just talk about your blogging without telling our listeners where they can find your blog. So where can they go to also find out about your life and family?
Indeed. Well, if you'd like to find out more, it's at www.who'sthemummy.co.uk.
It's been a pleasure talking to you this afternoon, and maybe
too. Thank you very much.
It'd be lovely to meet you in the studio next time. So, Sally, thank you very much. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks a lot then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sunday nights from 9. Join Steve Franklin live for Preston FM's weekly request show.
Could I have some Pink Floyd for my mum?
Gino by Dixie's Midnight Runners.
Can I request 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton, please?
What a way to make a living.
Lavender by Marillion.
Sunday nights from 9. 103.2 Preston FM. The weekend stops here.